Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley, but enough about that because I have with me comic creator Rob Multari. So welcome back to the show.
No, thank you for having me again.
Oh no, I always enjoy having you on. Obviously, we talk a lot about Nightwolf, some Snowpaw, some wolf pups every once in a while. When I am not allowed to curse if I interview about that project solely, because it is a children's book. It is a
That's true.
children's book. Nightwolf is not a children's book, and Snowpaw is definitely not a children's book. To the same degree. But all jokes aside, obviously you got a lot going on with Nightwolf, which is on Kickstarter, issues 1 through 9. And I do want to talk a lot about Nightwolf and what's going on with that. But what exactly is the premise of that book and everything that you do? Because at Lone Wolf Comics, because there's people who know who you are, and there's people who might have forgotten, and then there's a bunch of new people who always see these interviews whenever I push them. So kind of want to get everybody grounded.
Yeah, so I'm Rob Multari. I'm the creator and writer of Nightwolf and Snowpaw, self-published through Lone Wolf Comics. And Nightwolf is a story about a young man who finds out he's born a werewolf, gets thrown into a supernatural war against demons, witches, vampires, other werewolves in a modern time, where basically he's this 18-year-old and he has a full scholarship for his football college of his dreams. He has a girlfriend, friends, everything, going for him that a high school kid could want until his 18th birthday when he finds out he's born a werewolf, and then everything gets ripped away from him.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff has happened in the first 8 issues. I mean, from my understanding is that he kind of gets thrown into that in the first issue. He has to deal with a fight, and he kind of gets his ass handed to him a little bit in that fight. He gets a mentor, Snowpaw, and then they're fighting this mystical force / bad guys, the Dark Covenant, which is vampires. They've convinced some werewolves to help them, and it's kind of this good versus evil battle. Or maybe good versus evil is not the correct word, but it's two forces.
Yeah, I would say it's good versus evil, but like now, with him, it's kind of like a grade line. You know what I mean? Like, so initially, it's one of those like it's a good bad situations, but now it's in a modern times where kind of like that morality line is like blurred. That's kind of like why. So he's not like a typical werewolf of this breed. Snowpaw being a pure blood, she's white furs. Whereas like Black Claw is a mongrel and he's got black fur. Where Nightwolf is a blend of the two, so he's not good, he's not bad, he's just kind of the chaotic gray line in the middle.
So let's talk a little bit about this because I'm going to spoil a little bit of this. But obviously, the first 4 issues is there's some fights, but there's training. It's kind of prepping up. And then what I view, and I don't know how you break up your arcs, but I view 5 through 8 is a major pivotal position where that training component is done. And this is the first major fight that kind of happens. And Rodney kind of gets, Snowpaw's, I guess, ex-partner, mentor, partner in crime, whatever we're going to call that. I'm not exactly sure the correct termage here, but he gets his armor, and it's kind of a coming of age into the clan, for lack of a better word, is how I viewed it and what I read of it, and how. And tell me if I'm wrong.
You're on the nose right there.
But that's kind of what happens, I think, in the first really 8 issues, and not to spoil anything, but it kind of sets up a very complicated situation because when you're now one of the clan and you're on equal footing to some degree. And he's not necessarily on equal footing with Snowpaw due to her age and being more experienced, but he's one of the clan now to some degree. And that kind of sets up issue 9 in a unique way because there's a lot of stuff happening between his girlfriend, the fact that he makes a decision to go off to try to find his girlfriend, gets himself in over his head. Snowpaw is left all alone. No, there's not going to be a sexual joke there. I want to make that crystal clear. She is in a death battle. I want to make that crystal clear here. Again, no sexual jokes are about to be made here because she's in a real fight against Black Claw, I think, to the death. And this is getting really interesting, this issue, because I don't know there's morality, there's what is good for this war that they're fighting versus what is good for thou self. Rodney wants his girlfriend back. I mean,
right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like he's that gray line. Like he's not good, he's not bad. Right now, he's very much in it. Like he has one goal and that's it. And he's got the blinders on, right? Like he totally is like, in the end of the last of issue 8, he catches a wind of like, her scent of his girlfriend's scent, and he just kind of just goes, right? And totally forgetting that like Snowpaw is still fighting inside the cabin. And that's where exactly we we start off in issue 9. We're continuing that same battle, and he's then running off through the woods looking for Jen, and it basically kind of gets him in above his head. He's off on his own, and he kind of bites off more than he can chew.
I mean, it gets interesting, right? Because you have a character who didn't ask to be a werewolf, didn't ask for this power, just wanted to go play football, right? Mm-hmm. And have his nice car and have his life and have it all, right? Have his family and all that stuff, and then now he's in this war, but he doesn't want a part of this.
He wanted nothing to do with it.
But he's involved in a war, and then he just left his trainer to potentially die. I mean, this is what's so interesting is that because we have the first 8 issues, and you're like, oh man, Snowpaw and Rodney, they're going to go fight this evil force, the Dark Covenant. And then he's like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And like, because that's like a 180. And that's what's so fascinating about this issue. From the way it's described on Kickstarter and the way it's being approached is that this is kind of not it's kind of a 180 a little bit.
I mean, I would say because again, you have to understand, like in Werewolf age, he's still a puppy, and and if you learn anything from kids in horror movies or like The Walking Dead, for example, Carl was a pain in the ass, right? Like he did the wrong things all the time and got people killed, right? So like this is stuff that happens, with this age group, the younger ones who think they know better, they think they know it all. They're going to go off and do it on their own, right? And so it's not so much that it's like he's saying screw this, his mind is like, oh, I smell her, I'm going after her, I'm going to save her now. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like I said, it's kind of not so much that it's like he's running away from the situation. Unfortunately, he's running head into it.
Because it's interesting because this is an evolution issue for Rodney, mm-hmm. and even his relationship with Snowpaw. And that's also what's fascinating is that this is obviously going to change something because there's consequences that are going to ensue out of this. Whether Rodney gets himself killed, hurt, injured. Snowpaw gets herself hurt, killed, or injured. Jen somehow gets killed. And this is going to have, I think, lasting effects. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't see any other way how there can be not consequences out of this issue of something happening. And it's also going to be, I think, a pivotal moment because if somebody does get killed or majorly hurt, or anything of that nature, whether it's Rodney, Jen, Snowpaw, I mean, this is that position. It's kind of like when Obi-Wan Kenobi died in Star Wars. That was a pivotal moment. It was a pivotal moment. And then when Luke lost his hand, we were all like, well, it served you right.
Yeah. Well, let's say there is a pivotal moment. I'm not going to say what it is or who it is or how it is, but let's just say that there's a mysterious succubus involved, and her kind of appearance also kind of plays a factor into something. And then in this issue, we're going to learn a little bit more about what drives his power. That it's not just, obviously like being the werewolf is kind of like a creature of magic nature, but his kinetic energy is something a little different. So we get a little bit more into that.
No, see, because again, I just find it fascinating when you get to 8 issues into something, you gotta throw a curveball in there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, my New York Mets are not in the World Series, so we don't have to talk about that. But you throw a strike, you throw a ball, you got to throw a breaking ball at some point to get the batter and keep the batter honest to some degree. And I think that's what's fascinating, because I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you know more than I do. I don't know how many indie books make it past issue 4. I don't have that statistic in front of me. I mean, I don't know how many people in comics make it past issue 4, because it's hard. I mean, we can openly say that making an indie book on Kickstarter is hard.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say there's probably a baker's dozen serialized more than 4 issues.
Now, I'm not saying you could do 4 issues and then do volume 2, but technically you restarted if you restart a volume. Versus doing issue 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, Ed Davis is on, I think, with the Immortal Era, he's on like issue 10 or 11. Tom Hutchinson with Critter is on 24. He was on last night. But I can't think of people who have had a continuation of more than like 6 and 7.
Kevin Joseph with Tart, he's I think up to 19-ish.
But you get where I'm going.
Yeah. Masatonic High, they're up in the 20s, I believe.
But the point I'm making is that once you get to issue 8, 9, 10, you got to throw something in there that's going to switch it up. Because if you don't, you're just regurgitating the same shit to me.
Oh, right.
Like, what are we doing here? And that's what I think is interesting, is that because and I don't know how you break up your arcs, but there's something clearly different between issue 8 and 9, because we've had Snowpaw and Rodney for the last 8 issues, give or take, and now he's running right into danger to get the girl.
Yeah, I mean, we have to have, there's 12 issues in the story arc. I still have time to do stuff, and I can't just throw them into the big battle right away, right?
No. I mean, I find this to be an evolution and an evolving issue, because when somebody goes out on their own and realizes that they don't know what they need to know, and then there's consequences for that, we get character development. And that's the other thing too, is that if you only have 4 issues of a series, at least in my opinion, it's really hard to develop characters in 4 issues. It's really hard.
It is. It really is.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't done a comic book, but I would imagine it's
let's just say that, like, with Nightwolf, I started with 12 issues, right? So that was kind of like my plan, is every story arc is going to be 12 issues. And when I started writing Snowpaw, I said, okay, I'm going to test this out with 4 issues. But let me tell you how much harder it is to write 4 issues and cram one story arc into those 4 issues than to do it, like with Nightwolf, where it's 12.
I had a professor when I was studying abroad in America. Don't ask. I understand. It's a weird thing. I studied, my semester abroad was at American, and it was unconventional learning, where the professor didn't teach. Instead, we were taught by all these people in government. So somebody who works in Homeland Security lectured to us, somebody in the Labor Department, and then somebody from a lobbying firm lectured to us. And we were in class 3 days a week, and we had like 6 speakers. And then every once in a while, the professor would give a lecture on a topic to fill in the gaps. So what it was is that we had papers to write, and you had to fit your paper into 2 pages. And every page you went over, so if you went on to a 3rd page, you got minus 10 points off of your paper.
Oh, wow.
So now every word matters. So apparently, after the final one, he said, guys, you could have just written this in bullet points. Because the theory is that you're briefing somebody as if you were briefing somebody in a congressional position and a Congress member, and they don't have time to read a 20-page essay on an issue. They just need to know the bullet points. And it is so hard. That first paper took me longer to write than any other paper I've ever written, because you have to write your idea and you got to minus all the bullshit in it. So writing short is a skill.
Yeah.
It's so hard. That first paper took me 14 hours to write 2 pages.
That's great.
my thesis, which was 30 pages, took me 60 hours. So legitly writing 2 pages in my study abroad position took me 1/4 the amount of time that took me to write my senior thesis in college. That's not good. So I am sympathetic is my point.
Fair.
But I digress right there. But I do want to talk about Nightwolf because I like where this is going. I like the fact that he went out on his own. I really like this because I'm excited and I want to see how bad he screws up and who saves him. I mean,
like I said, stuff happens.
But and then I want to dive even further into this too, because the other side of this, and you brought up Snowpaw, is that obviously I don't know what's going to happen with Snowpaw. But if you killed her off at this stage in the story, you still have her story 200 years before all this, give or take. So what is that like too? Because I don't know how that also impacts you as a writer and writing Snowpaw and doing Nightwolf and then putting her into a dangerous situation. Because and I don't know if I'm asking the question right, because it's kind of, I would imagine it could be tricky because, well, you do technically, if you kill her off, you still have her in play in her book coming all the way up to this. But it's also the idea that you just ended her story arc. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does. Though I can't really specifically say how her time in Nightwolf ends.
I mean, it cannot end here. The point is, though, is that
right.
you obviously have that other side of it in there. And I would imagine that it's probably a blessing and a curse as a writer because it's almost like in Star Wars, they killed off Obi-Wan, right? But then they did a prequel series of Obi-Wan, but we know how his ending is, but we don't know those 40 years from when he was pretty much cutting off Anakin's legs.
Right. I think so. What for me, like I have to do it more justice as far as like I don't want to like break continuity. Like I want to make sure that like just because I can go back and write something doesn't mean I can like play with it to the point where it doesn't make sense to what happened already. You know what I mean? Like I think they did a lot of that with like, you know, the prequels and Star Wars, and they gave a little bit of that too in the Obi-Wan series. There's a lot of like things that didn't mesh with the continuity. You know what I mean? So like that's always what like is for me. I'm a big fan of continuity. If you mess with continuity, you've lost me. Like I hate when people retcon stuff. I hate when people just like totally ignore the source material, you know. So for me, you know, that's what's nice about being able to go back and do Snowpaw, and that I'm the writer for both, that I know where where point A meets M and M goes to Z.
No. I agree. I guess where I'm going with this is that at some point her story arc is going to end. Whether she just says, "Hey, I'm retired," or she gets killed, or whatever that looks like, or something else happens. And anything could happen, but you also have the ongoing thing. And so that's where I think this is so interesting because it's kind of, I would imagine as a writer, if you know how your character ends and you published it and wrote it, but you have legitly the gap all the way minus the start when she came into Nightwolf to fill in, you know, it gives you so much to play with. And it also, you can start teasing some of that stuff of her death. I mean, the fact that like in Star Wars, which I thought was nice, is that, you know, Obi-Wan said to Anakin, I fear you're going to be the death of me someday. That's a nice little, you know, touch. That to some degree brings in continuity where, but like, and that's why I think it's so interesting because as a writer, that's like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's a very interesting situation when you could set up both of those things at the same time.
Well, that and like I've already hinted at Silvermane's end, you know, at the hands of Blacklaw, so that was kind of already hinted, and so I get to go back I mean, that's still sort of like later on, so I still have a lot of time to enjoy writing him. But I get to have that point where like I get to introduce Black Claw and I get to see that ending with Silvermane. You know what I mean? So that's something that, like, again, both those things, like you said, between however things end, I get to play with the wordplay, as if you will.
because they're happening at the same time. That's what I think is unique about the circumstance with what you're doing with both Nightwolf and Snowpaw, is that they're happening at the same time. Episode 4 did not happen when episode 2 happened,
Right.
And that thing was done. It was done after the fact, and that's also nice to some degree because it kind of links things up together. But it's interesting when it happens at the same time. That's what I think is so interesting about.
Yeah, that was kind of like, so writing at the same time has been kind of like fun because like in issue 3 something of Snowpaw something happens, and then in issue 8 I slightly mention that. So you see like a panel in issue 8 of Nightwolf that was like related to issue 3 of Snowpaw. And then in issue 4 of Snowpaw, which the script is done, it's in Mog's hands at this point. I wrote something that like I had that like had been mentioned prior in Nightwolf, but like, you know what I mean? But I'm able to like pull from that, because they're both like, like you said, simultaneously going.
Again, I think it's just fascinating because it's a unique situation that very few, I think, companies and writers are ever in at the same time.
Right, yeah.
It's not good or bad. It's just what it is, and that's why I think
it's unique for sure.
And again, though, I'm not a writer. I have no intention of doing that. I think that would mind fuck with me indefinitely. And then not writing a comic, doing legitly 200 years here and then 200 years over here. We're just like, I operate linear. I don't operate in like a circle that's mixed up and jumbled.
So like it actually kind of works to how I write. So like in my mind, when I'm playing out the scenes in my head, like there's key things that I want to happen, right? I may not have all the in between before I hit the script, but like in my head, I have the main scenes playing out, and then I'll write those like key frames, if you will, and then I'll fill in the gaps. So it's kind of like that, but farther back.
Yeah, I'm so linear. I'm so linear, and I'm so like grand picture oriented. Like I know exactly how I view things, right? And like I have to focus on one thing, right? So like I can't like jump from project A to project B.
I think that's where my attention deficit is my superpower. I'm able to like once I get distracted, I'm like, "Whoo, it's over here now. Whoo, I'm over here."
It's the same thing at my job. When there's 3 projects, I say, look, I'm dealing with this project. I'm going to get to a good stopping point here. I'm going to finish this unit up, and then I'll jump over there. Give me 30 minutes. I can't jump in the middle of a unit over to something else. Like, and my company and my boss and my coworkers understand, like, okay, you need 30 minutes to finish this up, and got it. Because I just need to like find the right breaking point and stoppage point. But that I understand how I work, and I'm not going to tell anybody else how they should work. That's up to you. Everybody works differently, and maybe my idea is wrong, or maybe it works for me, and maybe it's impossible. I don't know, but I digress. But yes, so that again, I am rooting for Snowball to get killed here. That's what I want. I'm going to be very disappointed if she survives this. I'm gonna be very disappointed. I mean, I'm gonna be upset. That's where I'm at. You all know how I feel.
Well, like I said, there's 4 issues for this volume, right? I'm not saying exactly what's gonna happen, but let's say in issue 13, he is pretty much on his own.
I mean, I think she's got to go. She's like Herschel. She's got to go. I mean, Maggie Green would not be the woman she is right now in The Walking Dead if Herschel was still around. So,
I mean, it's true.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was watching Talking Dead, and you have Dave Navarro on it, and Dave Navarro is like the bassist, like slash lead guitarist from
Right.
Jane's Addiction, and he's like, Herschel had to go. They had to kill him off, and he's just so calm about it. And like you have Dave Navarro saying it, it's like the funniest thing that's not supposed to be funny, but it's just Dave Navarro is like so intense on it, and he's like, you had to kill Herschel. He had to go. He's got to go. He's just bad here. You got to kill him. And it was great because Dave Navarro is the last person I would ever expect.
Yeah, because he's usually so chill.
Be like so enthusiastic, and that's how I feel about Snowball. Is I'm gonna Dave Navarro Snowball.
So
on Talking Nightwolf.
So fun fact too about issue 4 of Snowpaw that's going to be coming out hopefully February. I tested so my editor read it. I had 2 more people, actually 4 more people read it, and each one of them had the same reaction to something that I did. Like basically, there was a couple twists in there and surprises that upset them. So I did my job.
I'm just saying. She's got to go. It's terrible. It's terrible. But I'm not going to push too hard on it. On that. But obviously, I do want to talk about some other stuff outside of Nightwolf, because there's a lot of stuff going on with Nightwolf. I'm going to just address it. Is that obviously you're going to fund you for the most part. I think you had one that didn't fund, and then you've done anywhere from 10 to 20,000, I think, on a lot of projects, and even things that were outside the normal scope. I think the children's book is a fair position on that, where children's books are hell on Kickstarter. Am I wrong?
No, that was very reminiscent of that first failed one. Even though they crossed the line, it was still like every minute was like, oh my God, is this thing ever going to fund?
Again, that's just from what I've seen. The all ages books are not easy on Kickstarter. Now, at a convention, that's a different discussion completely.
Oh yeah.
But it's been rough. I mean, I think it's fair. You're not the only one. I think the whole sector of pop culture is rough right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's just easier to see it on Kickstarter, because I don't see how a comic store sales are doing. I hear things, but I don't see it. On Kickstarter, you see the goal number.
Yeah.
So it's just more obvious. And if I am stating anything that's just not true, feel free to call me out on it. But you're going to fund. But I've noticed people have lower numbers. I've heard people saying digitals. I've noticed, I mean, from 6 months ago, I heard people saying digital sales are up more than physicals. I've also noticed and noted that people are saying, look, I don't have as many returning backers, or they're not upping their pledge, or they've lost interest, or there's a variety of other things going on. And so what is that like? And I'm curious what you think about that, because I have my thoughts from a different side and more of an eBay reselling side, but I don't have it from a Kickstarter side because I'm not in that space.
So like, over a year ago, I could put up a Chris Williams original cover like this and it wouldn't last very long, right? So now, within last year, I still have a couple of them. Like I think I have 7, 8, and 9 Chris Williams covers available on the campaign in the add-ons, for those of you who do like art. But I think, people don't have the money for the high-end stuff anymore. They want to continue the story. So there's like the people who are getting more digital, which, right now, if they're struggling financially, a $5 version, is way, easy to manage than, some of the higher end variants. But for me, like, it has been like, I think I got a little bit more digitals. As far as backer count goes, I'm right about par. By the end, I'll be able to really say whether it was higher or lower. But right now, I'm almost 300 backers, and I'm only in my first week. So, I can't complain there at all. My Wolfpack, they came strong as usual.
So let me ask you this, because right now, I mean, on eBay, and this is just what I am understanding, is that I'm selling certain high-end items very nicely. But it's also very situational. It's also the idea that it's sports cards, and in particular, the New York Mets stuff isn't staying in my store for very long because they haven't been in. I mean, they were the magical Mets, the wild card games, the Philly beating the Phillies. Nobody had that on their bingo card. Them taking 2 games away from the Dodgers. And this was a team that was not supposed to be there. So all of those cards, there was very few tops now Mets cards. And then there's just been a bunch in the playoffs. And so the people who are Mets fans and card fans are like, we didn't have this, and we haven't had this in years, and in almost 10 years to be exact. So we want all of it. And then some. We want more. So that I understand. And then people are saying, I might not have $500, but I don't know when this is going to come again. But I don't know how you feel about with those original arts and higher end variants, because is it that are they print to order, or is it limited sets, or is it, because that's also the thing too that I think is also getting complicated, is that I've been told, and just as a consumer, there's 50 of this book that have been out there, and there's 50, but then there's another 25 on the next campaign, and then there's like another 15 left on the third campaign. And this was issue 1, and by issue 4, there's 10 left, and I can get it on issue 4, and I don't get a sense of urgency. I mean, I'm willing to buy something when there's a real claim of urgency on it.
Right.
And I don't know if that's also shifted, because when something is print to order and then it's done, I'm more inclined to buy.
For me, like I don't do print to order. I don't do print on demand. I do like the full print run when I print, and when they're gone, they're gone. Luckily, I haven't completely sold out of anything yet. Because like the way I price my books, usually like the very limited stuff's usually higher end stuff. So I still have, a couple sets that I can do each campaign. Plus I keep them limited also to Kickstarter. There's the high, like some of the really high end stuff I don't take with me to Comic-Cons. Right. And I don't sell them anywhere else outside of, Kickstarter or backer kit afterwards. Whereas like, and then, obviously the, the original art's one of a kind. So you're not getting doubles of that. So for me, like I've been, I haven't sold out of all mine yet, but I do state how much I do print, so I'm not like, it's not going, once that print number is gone, it's gone.
Because that's also what I feel too, is that I evaluate when I'm looking at collectibles, is that what is the likelihood of me getting something? How fast is it going to sell out? Is this going to sell out in 3 minutes, or is it going to sell out in 5 weeks? And that's also going to determine when and how and where I buy it. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just thinking as a consumer, and that's my whole thing with Kickstarter right now, is that because I've been in a situation, and in the last year, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff that's limited that I can still get 9 months after it came out. So like that's the other thing too, is that if all of a sudden there's only 14 copies of a book and it's going to be gone, or it's only available in the first week, I'm more inclined to buy it. So like that's what I'm trying to figure out, is that like, why is there a struggle, or is it that people are just burned out?
Well, I think, there are those, like there are the campaigns who do that. They like make things extremely limited, and when they're there, they're there. I've never worked that way. Like I said, my print runs are like standards are a couple thousand. Cover B is like 500, and then C 600, or whatever goes down 4, 3, 2, 100, and then that once those copies are done. Like I said, I don't do like there's only like for the metal ones, or for like the lenticulars, those are extremely limited, but they're also extremely pricey. So like those ones like don't go as fast because the $55 price for a metal or a $75 for a lenticular. But where the other ones, like I said, I price them so that like they're for what they are for their value and what they are for the limit that their print run. And, it also helps me to string it along as well. As far as collectability, it's, like once those are done, they're done. Right. So eventually they're going to go out, and then eventually won't be able to do those for Kickstarter, which is fine because eventually I want to get rid of all those single issues anyway, and hopefully just kind of focus then on the direct market or with trades.
Well, also, isn't it the fact that what's in a graphic novel or a trade paperback? How many issues?
For me, 4.
So once you're out of the 4 issues, it's not like you're gonna then just solely focus on trades. You still have issues 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it's just you don't have one anymore.
Yeah. At one point, at some point, I'm not going to have any more of, the singles unless for say, if I were to get into Diamond, and they order, let's say 2,000 copies, either way, they're going to Diamond's going to get a retail version with the retail barcode, the ISBN barcode, because that's what they require. Right. So it's going to be its own direct market version, but that's not going to be sold on Kickstarter.
I find it interesting. But I'm just curious because, again, my view right now is that I just see a bunch of Kickstarters in which I see more projects on Kickstarter, and I think that's good. But I also see people, funding slower and having a harder time. And, and look, I think the big guys are still going to do what the big guys are going to do. But I don't even know if they're doing better or worse at this point. But again, that's just where I see it, is that I see the whole thing slowing down. And I think there's a lot of stuff going on. I think, where it's Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, Christmas, and I don't know how you feel about it, starts earlier and earlier every year. I mean, aren't we just skipping Halloween and Thanksgiving, going straight to Christmas?
I mean, sometimes it feels that way. I mean, it's a shame. Not in my house though. We make sure we celebrate all those.
I like Halloween. Halloween's a great holiday.
Right, exactly. Holiday, Halloween's the best.
Christmas is a horrible holiday, and I'll tell you why. Okay, it has nothing to do with religion. It's that sometimes Christmas is great, but sometimes you get really bad gifts and you have to pretend you like it. See, Halloween, I just get candy. Nobody's ever upset about candy. Candy's great. I get to eat candy. I get candy corn. I get Kit Kats. I get like a Snickers bar. You get a Reese's Pieces. I mean, who can complain? Peanut butter and chocolate. It's amazing. You go into a store, hand them cash, and they'll give you some Reese's. Right. I mean, outside, that's a commercial right there. And I know it's a commercial. How crazy is that? But no. So that's why Halloween's great. Thanksgiving is just food and football. Christmas is a disaster. Because every once in a while, you get a good Christmas where everything works. You get a bunch of great gifts, but I'm disappointed on Christmas. Half the time, it's just a disappointment.
Like at my age and having kids, I don't get anything for Christmas. It's just everybody. It's the kids have their Christmas and that's it.
You don't even get sleep.
That right? Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. For me, Christmas is making sure the kids are happy. That's it.
If you get 6 hours of sleep on Christmas, that's the greatest gift ever, isn't it?
Oh yeah, exactly. And then they come in early in the morning. I'm like, no, we're not doing it yet. Get out of here.
It's 6 o'clock, guys. It's 6 in the morning.
If that clock doesn't say 8 o'clock, you ain't coming into my room.
Oh my God.
I don't care how long you've been awake.
But Thanksgiving is a perfect holiday. It's food and football, and nothing can go wrong on Thanksgiving. But getting back,
your turkey goes out the window. That's a different story.
What would you say?
I said, unless your turkey goes out the window, that's another story.
I mean, if it flies out, this is why you buy a gun.
No. I mean, not
I'm
gonna
so
say.
sorry. That was so bad.
Let's
That's
just
so
let's just
lovely.
say that I was in a past relationship with somebody who never had a really good holiday situation. They're like half the time either a tree or a turkey would go out the window.
That's insane.
Believe me, it was, and let's just say I'm happy I'm not involved with that.
This is why you have to have an emergency pizza from Domino's ready to go.
or you're going to the Chinese restaurant and they're singing Christmas carols.
There's so many things to say. So many things to say. But yes, but and then I mean I am curious because obviously going even beyond Kickstarter. I mean I'm curious how you feel where comics are going because I think we're in a weird position, and I've seen people say we are in the best position in comics. I don't really know if that's true, and I'll tell you my opinion on that, and I'm curious how you feel about it because I don't think DC and Marvel give a fuck about comics. I
No,
I,
they don't.
I think they haven't written a meaningful story in the last like 5 years.
I'd say even longer than that.
I'm being generous.
I'm not.
Yeah, but like, I mean, so the last stuff that I read that I really enjoyed out of Marvel and DC is I enjoyed shoot, was it like Carnage in Black or King of Carnage or something like that?
Are you talking about the Null?
Yeah, yeah. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed what they've done with Spider-Man to some degree just recently. But beyond that, going back, I enjoyed Fear Itself and I enjoyed Blackest Night. But like, and some of the New 52 was good. Some of Rebirth was okay. But like, they really like Absolute Batman. There's nothing wrong with it. But like, what are we doing here? This is like, I want all the gadgets. No offense. I don't. I read Frank Miller's Dark Knight and Dark Knight Returns. I don't need a cleaner version of Frank Miller.
Yeah, that's kind of what that looked like.
Writing.
Yeah, and that
It's
have
a
you
cop
seen the
out.
Wonder Woman with the big broad, like the Buster Sword from Final Fantasy?
I have not seen that.
I saw a picture of it, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, so we're having Wonder Woman the Barbarian?
I don't have a problem with that. That actually seems a lot of fun. I'd rather have that. Like throw Wonder
I
Woman.
don't know. My wife is a big Wonder Woman fan, and I showed her a picture of that. She's like, "What is this garbage?"
I wouldn't mind having like Wonder Woman in like a Red Sonja-esque type thing. That'd be fun.
She's not Red Sonja, I'll tell you that. It's definitely a full costume.
No. I hear you. I hear you. I haven't seen it, but she's got like a big fucking Final Fantasy sword. That's awesome. I would love to
Right,
see.
but it looks like she got the muscles to show for it. It's like they put She-Hulk and her together.
See. I don't have a problem with that. I'm actually intrigued now. See. Now I'm intrigued. But I also have weird preferences. But not the point here.
You're like, I want my wife to carry me down the threshold.
That'd be awesome. Every night. That'd be awesome. It's terrible. It's so terrible. We're looking about me today, aren't we? No. But Absolute Batman is like a freaking cop out of Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Did you see that logo? Like the bat logo that's got like whatever, it's got those notches up on top.
Again, that was the least of my concern. Like that was genuinely the least of my concern. Of all the things,
Besides everything else, yeah.
I would. I mean, we might as well have just put the IDW logo instead. Which I actually like the logo IDW is doing. I'm the only one. I understand.
I don't know if I've seen it. Didn't they go bankrupt?
Who knows? Who cares? I should have shorted their stock. They're a publicly traded company. Did you know that? I mean, seriously.
I mean, I would assume so. At that level.
But there's companies that aren't publicly traded that should be. I mean, but anyway, the point is that the IDW logo is something else, but I like it.
Well, I think that was the only way, like being publicly traded and having the money to buy a lot of those like intellectual properties was like the only way they could do that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know because I thought their owner is like a billionaire.
I mean, yeah, but he probably was protecting his own budget by making it publicly traded.
So I mean, public stocks for those who don't know are just another way how to finance things.
Right.
It's just another way how to finance things. It's also another way how to create lucrative exits.
Yeah. So that's what I meant. Like if they're, that way he's not using his money to buy these IPs.
It's that there's also reissuing, rebuying back. There's a bunch of stuff, but that's a different podcast for a different day. That's a topic I love talking about. If anybody wants to talk about with me with that, be my guest. I could go on for hours. And then student loan debt is also a favorite topic of mine. Again, hours. I could go on. And before anybody asks, I did work for about 12 months in Student Veterans of America, and so I know the GI Bill really fucking well. Really well. That's all I did. It's an amazing. It's a group that just deals with student loan debt and the GI Bill. It's awesome. Oh my God. Just it started out as an internship and then I never left. I left a really bad internship, and the synopsis of this is that I walked into my old internship, the lights were off. I walked into Student Veterans every morning, the lights were on. That is a stark difference of how you walk into a company in the morning when you work. When I work at my job right now, the lights are on when I walk in. That says it all. But I digress. But I'm curious how you feel about the state of comics, because minus Absolute Batman, and I will say the Akira cover was pretty sweet that they did.
Again, I think the big two are struggling to find something that to actually hang on to, or they're not trying. I still think that indie is where it's at as far as like story. But I think it's also there's a fluctuation of indie projects, and there's going to be right now with the way the economy is, the amount of projects out there, people kind of hesitant to spend money, between the election and holidays. I think a lot of it is going to be, it's kind of once the economy comes back up, you're going to see the people who were able to maintain through the storm. And then you're going to see a large chunk of people who were there won't be there anymore. Or there'll be the people who just, the storm didn't bother them at all. They still are they got the biggest ship, so they're just breaking wind.
Did you feel, because this is the thing. So I know when I buy a DC comic or a Marvel book or an IDW book or a Dynamite book or a Dark Horse, I'm going to get my book every month or every other month. For the most part, I know that there's going to be a certain level of quality. Hopefully, I say that very generously.
I was going to say I've seen some pretty shitty books out of all of them.
But I know it's going to be printed on decent paper. I know there's going to be certain standards, right, with it. I know that they're going to.
Is there though? Because Marvel and DC have gotten really cheap with their paper and their covers.
But here the flip side with indie, I don't know when I'm getting somebody's book. I don't. I have no idea when I'm getting somebody's book, to be quite honest. There's people who have gotten me a book 3 weeks after a campaign, and there's people who've gotten me a book 3 years after a campaign ended, and there's people who've never gotten me their book. There's people who say, oh man, I'm having problems every single month, and then they dissipate. And there's people who are late by 3 months. And then I also get the gambit in indies where I get people who do amazing, beautiful work. Preston Poulter's books look epic inside. They look beautiful and masterful. But then you also get somebody, and I'm not going to name names, but the book looks like a piece of shit inside. And then you get stories that sound awesome, and then the story is all jumbled up and it's horrible. And then, but then the person, and that's one issue, and then the next issue they write of a completely different series, it's awesome. So I never know what I'm going to get with an indie book. With DC, I have an idea of what I'm going to get. Doesn't mean it always happens, but I know with Spider-Man, I'm not going to expect something crazy in Spider-Man where it's not, it's not necessarily, it could be average, it could be below average, but I get an idea of what I'm going to get from the first issue. If I want to get issue 2, I don't know what I'm going to get in indie, and I don't know when I'm going to get it. Yeah. And that's my problem with indie right now, is I back a Kickstarter. I don't know what I'm going to get, and I don't know when I'm going to get it, and I don't know if I'm going to get screwed.
Well, I think that also is a testament to the people who have been around and who are serializing. For example, like Tom, like myself, like Pat Shand, like Kevin Joseph and Charlie Stickney. We're all, we are on long running campaigns. We have, we deliver our books.
I'm going to challenge a little bit because some of those people have been significantly late.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they're bad people. I get that shit happens, but this goes back to my argument where I am buying something, and I get that. I mean, we have to talk about what is justifiably late, right? Is justifiably late a month, or is it 6 months? Because I think 6 months is a little bit different than a month. Okay, and I'm the first person because I've been late by a week shipping out cards to people. And if somebody gets their panties in a bunch because I'm a week late, newsflash, there's life that happens.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes things are out of my control. So, I buy a lot of cards. Sometimes the card is delayed by 2 weeks. I have no control. So I'm still going to back Pat Chan, Tom. I don't know Kevin Joseph's work. I've actually never heard of him. So I don't know. I know Charlie Stickney, you mentioned. He did stuff with Scout, I think, and other things.
Yeah, he's White Ash.
Yeah. I've never read White Ash, but I've heard the name. But again, I get that shit happens. But this is what I mean: is that this is why, but DC and Marvel aren't much better. So like this is why I think like I've become disenfranchised. Because I'm at a stage where the whole industry is disenfranchised me because lateness. It's like I've lost trust, and I don't think I'm the only one. I'm just gonna say it, and I don't know how the industry gets me back.
I mean that's just it. I mean they also like in cases like for example, you have to see what the actual due date is, right? That they set. Do they know what they're doing? Do they not? It depends. I know when I can get a book domestically printed, an issue, and get it in, unless there's issues. Like when I had my issue 7 issue where there's like they had to reprint it 3 times. That was not my fault. Believe me, and I shared those emails. I had receipts.
But this is also the thing is that I am less likely to be angry and become disenfranchised with communication.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is good customer service. Always have good customer service. For example, like my volume 2, it's coming in November. I already said that. This book, this is the sample that I got. The actual pallet full of books are coming over from China. They're actually at the port now. They will be in as soon as they bring them on the truck and coming in November. And I said that in November. They will be in November. Right now, unless something happens between the port being trucked this way, we'll find out. But as far as I know, they're going to put it on a truck and it'll be here in November. That's something that I had talked about with my printer, as long as everything goes according to plan. And I've shared those emails as well as I'm going through. The only other issue snafu that I had was with my Nightwolf plush doll because of the strike at the port. It got delayed. So now that's not going to be until probably November itself, which it should have been in October. But because of the strike, you can't do anything about that. Like... No,
I agree. But like I communicate with my buyers when something goes wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That most of them understand. And if somebody doesn't understand, I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do here. Like
yeah, as long as you are, like you said, as long as you're communicating with them, you have you can show the emails, you're not hiding anything, you're good, right? You have the receipts. It's the people, the people who don't communicate, or they say something, but they don't have anything to back it up. Those are the ones that are giving Kickstarter books a bad name, especially when they're not delivering.
I agree. It's also the idea though, that because the issue is that we're dealing with somebody like, we'll just use Tom. I don't think Tom's going to mind. Tom is running Big Dogging and does really well. He does anywhere from 10 to 25,000 per campaign.
Mhm.
I understand that's a big range. That's a big range, but that's about what he
But he
does.
also has multiple titles too, and some are bigger than others.
Yeah, no, it's not a knock on him. Yeah, I'm being as accurate as I possibly can be because I think that's important. But what it is that you know, so shoot, I forgot my point that I was about to make. But the thing is that fuck, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, we were talking about Tom, and
Yes, we're talking about Tom. So my point though is that there gets a position where if you're communicating, that's one thing, but
yeah,
it's just the idea that Tom does. Oh no, I know what my thought was. Sorry. So Tom does anywhere from 10 to 25,000 has a certain standard he wants to put out there, certain
right.
types of books he wants to put out there, certain quality of books. But
Mhm.
then you have somebody who just did a campaign for $1,500, didn't make any money on that campaign. Because I think if you just did $1,500, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's your first campaign building an audience, right? You're
Right,
doing a comic, I'm
right,
not knocking you, but you don't have any infrastructure. You don't know what you're doing, and your quality of shipping could be shitty. And that's the problem with indie is that, and this is where I think it gets complicated, right? Because if I say, oh man, that sounds like an awesome idea of mecha robots fighting each other trying to save cats from like an evil empire of like the fish empire trying to, drown the kittens and then they're fighting in robots. This sounds like an awesome idea, right? But the person's never done a comic before. And I don't know what their back end looks like. And I don't know when I'm gonna get their book.
well, and at that point, yes, when somebody who's unknown comes in with an issue one, you're like you said, they're not going to probably do that well unless they are able to show that they know what they're doing. Though, if
So
they continue with issue 2, 3,
the
then
point,
you kind of see like, okay, these kids know what they're doing.
but it's a mixed bag is the
It
point.
is. I mean,
And
you
so,
just, I mean, as a buyer, it's like with anything, you kind of have to do when you're like looking on Amazon or you're looking at reviews, you're trying to figure out the
but
best buy.
I agree, but I've had big names kind of screw me. So like
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
stinks, right?
yeah. Well, that's the other thing is the big names who are used to everybody else doing the shipping, like they just want to do the drawing or the writing, right? So they're not used to what like the normal Kickstarter guys are doing everything, right?
I'll ask you the question, right? So who's the chief packing officer in your company? Now, how many packages have you put out in a weekend? Just give me an idea.
At most or average.
Yeah, at most. What's I mean, everybody has a number, right?
I mean, I put out 300 packages one weekend before, and that was like half a campaign at one point.
three weeks ago, I shipped out 175 packages. And then give or take, they were cards, but they were expensive cards. But I don't think people understand what 175 packages looks like. Okay. And then my mailman was like, what the fuck? It was I'm like, here you go. Wait right here.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Like I roll in with like Tupperware bins, like the big ones. Like I roll in like, hold on, I got another one. Hold on, I got another one. Hold on.
So it's kind of like when you go to Staples and I don't know if you've been to Staples in a while, but have you seen those big round bubble wrap wheels?
Yeah.
And you're buying like 15 of those. But like until you've done it, that's the thing too, is
Mm-hmm.
that like that's what I think that people don't understand. Is that
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun because you bring your friends and you do that and you're playing with them before you start packing up
Well,
stuff.
I mean, you also have to be organized too. Like for me, like with Kickstarters, you're always getting the extra bonus rewards, right? So you got to make sure you have all that organized, ready to go. You have the variant issues, especially when you're up to issue 9. You got to have all that stuff like laid out, ready to go in an assembly line.
I have a nice little mobile dock, right? So I do I pack up my stuff while watching college football and the NFL, right? On Saturday and Sunday. So I have a mobile doc system, envelopes, Sharpies, paper, little other things, card plastic sleeves slash top loaders, the penny sleeves, because most of what I'm selling right now is not comics. But I have a nice little mobile dock, and I look like a little grandma pushing it. It's funny. It's funny because but it works, right? And we talk about organization, but it's so crucial because that has legitimately saved me probably about 4 hours every month.
That's the more you do it too, the more you like, as you're doing, you're like, oh, if I did it this way, this would be faster. Like that's the stuff that they don't teach you. You learn on your own. Like everybody's going to have their own different setup.
And so that's how I feel. But again, it took me a long time to do that. And I think people forget that just didn't happen. It happened because I had a huge increase in sales in a short amount of time. When you do almost 3 times what you were expecting to do from last year in 5 months, you're like, oh, fuck, I need infrastructure. And I need it badly. And you're like, I don't understand how to buy envelopes now because you got to run to Staples and then you're spending $400 on envelopes. I don't think people understand when you're in that circumstance and you just bought $400 worth of. No, actually, that's not true. I didn't buy it from Staples. I bought it from Target because they have a Starbucks in Target. And after you bought 400 envelopes, you know that you need your Frappuccino and a cake pop. You need to sit down and be like, what the fuck did I just do?
People don't understand, like, a lot of that, like, and that's why, like, people are paying so much money in Kickstarter stuff. There, you got the packaging, the Gemini mailers, and I put mine in a bubble wrap seal, and you're paying for the labels, the shipping, that's all that stuff, the bag and boards. And here's a pro tip for anybody out there: put each book in a single bag and board and tape it. Don't just shove 2 in one. Don't not tape it. Just do it right. People will like your stuff better, and they'll come back for you.
So, I mean, I have a rule of thumb, and it's interesting. Some buyers are like the weirdest people. So Panini, which is Topps' competitor, they tape the card over the seal, and half my buyers hate that. And I'm like, I love it though, because they send it to me and they tape it so that the card really can't come out of its penny sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
And my buyer's like, oh, it's really hard to remove that out. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. And they leave it in they don't leave me negative feedback, but they put it in like positive feedback. Next time, don't use tape. I'm like, I didn't use tape. It was shipped to me like that. And then other people are like, yo, dude, I love that you taped it. It's like the weirdest thing because buyers will tell you what they want. And I'm like, half of you want X and the other half want Y. I don't know what to do.
It's true. It's true. No matter what, you're going to get one the other way, or there's the one in the middle, like, I don't know, whatever.
But nobody's ever said the card came damaged. Everybody's like, the card's fine. I'm like, the card is fucking fine, everybody. Like, it's a plastic sleeve. What do you want from me? I sold you a card cheaper than you could have bought it from the manufacturer because I buy it wholesale. I passed the savings on to you, and you're complaining about tape. I should just give them, I should say, next time I'll let you get bitten by a werewolf. I'll give you real props to complain about it.
I mean, some people are into that.
Oh my God. I read a book called Blood and Water. Just it's all about vampires and how they decided not to start biting humans and like basically eat pigs and pig blood. Because if you have human blood, it messes you up. It was a great book. It was great. It's nice. A great concept. But that was before my parents were smart enough not to let me read Vertigo stuff. I'm like 12 years old reading like all this bad stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And like, oh, it's good. But it benefited me. I turned out all right. I can't wait till I have a 12-year-old kid. I'm gonna give them all the stuff that I read as a 12-year-old. I'm gonna give them like Berserker. I'm gonna give them like Basilisk. I'm gonna give them Battle Royale. I'm gonna give them Blood and Water. I'm gonna give them all the good stuff. Bandman, all that good stuff.
Not the originals, clearly. You're gonna be getting them the graphic novels.
I mean, I'm gonna just buy them an iPad. It'll be so much easier. Here you go. Then we're gonna have class on Saturday. So what did you think about that issue of Sandman? And I'm gonna look like my kid's so smart. It's gonna be
Book
great.
club.
Oh, it's gonna be like book club and like maybe I'll be like lecturing and maybe I'll just like create the whole library. Maybe I'll do it at the library for free. It'll be great. Yeah. So. But yeah, no, nobody understands. Your taping bill's expensive, right?
Yep.
Now, how do you buy your tape is also the question, right?
Oh, I mean, I try and do everything as wholesale as possible, but some options you can't.
I haven't bought tape wholesale, but I buy in bulk, and I buy in real big bulk. So I will buy a nice, like 36 rolls, and it's cheaper. So I'm maybe saving like $40, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but $40.
Yeah, overtime, yeah.
If I'm saving $400 a year on tape, it's a big deal. Yeah. Envelopes are like that. Other things are like that.
Mm-hmm.
Geminis are like that.
Yeah, that's what I love. I love the people who give out those Gemini mailer codes.
Oh, those are good too. I need a few of those. So if anybody has those, please send them to me. I definitely need some of those. So I need to restock. I have like 30 left. But I also haven't been selling comics lately. So it's just so much easier to sell a card. It's so much easier.
Oh, I'm sure.
Except, oh my God, just the base relics are a pain in the ass. So they put a base in a card.
That's weird.
Oh, no, it's awesome. I'll show it to you. It's dope. It's like the coolest thing ever. It's legitimately the coolest thing ever. It's like this. Huh. So they take a base out of the card, right? Out of the game. And then they put it in the card. And the card is like 130 point. And so it's like a thick card. And like you could feel and touch the base that they took from the game.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's awesome. And it's really cool because they're like limited numbered. And it's great because it's only so many bases.
Yeah, really.
And so it's just so per game. And then if it's a significant game, and that shit goes for a lot of money. And that card was $100. It's going for like $250 now.
No, yeah, that's definitely different than the old cards from back in the day.
I mean, they still sell the basic stuff, but I digress.
Right, but I mean, I don't remember them doing anything like that when we were kids.
It's crazy. Like there's like game used jerseys like this in there. See, game used relic.
Yeah,
by the player.
Yeah,
that's touched by my hands. Maybe we could get DNA and clone Julio Rodriguez off of it. I'm terrible, but this stuff goes for money, and that's great. But I digress. But so yeah, so where do you think comics are going? Is the prop of the question.
Again, I think it's going to be one of those things where like once the economy stabilizes, whoever weathered the storm is going to make it through and continue doing what they're doing. And as long as they're innovating and doing new stuff, they might even continue on further. It's kind of like I said, right now it's one of those like just maintain, weather out the storm, you'll be all right.
And then I mean, I think you're in the Midwest, right?
Me, I'm Western Pennsylvania. So Eastern.
You're Eastern. So where are you located?
North of Pittsburgh.
Oh. So you're north of Pittsburgh. I thought you were in Michigan.
No, well, I mean, I'm like 3 hours from Michigan.
I was about to make a joke about the Lions, but that just fell through.
I mean, but the Pirates.
Hey, you got Paul Skeens. It's all right. You got Paul Skeens. I mean, he's gonna be rookie of the year. It's all right.
Technically, where I live right in the middle between Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Erie. So
I don't know anything about Pennsylvania. All I know is that I don't want to be there in an election year. That's all I know. It just seems seems like a rough state to be in every 3.5 years.
I mean, honestly, we don't really talk about it all that much. I think people just do what they do. We vote. That's it.
I don't know. I mean, I live in Connecticut and I don't know anything about politics in Connecticut. I don't really care. All I know is that my senator is not a fan of cryptocurrency. And I'm like, I need to get you a wallet. A crypto wallet. Like, well, once I do that, we'll stage an intervention for Chris Murphy and he'll become one of us. I don't care how he votes about anything else. I just care that I want my cryptocurrencies protected. That's all I care about. But I digress. I mean, the Steelers are not great either, so it's understandable. But they did smoke the Jets, which was shocking. I didn't have money on that game, but I thought the Jets were going to do better.
I mean, the Steelers are like sometimes they get your hopes up, sometimes they don't. I mean, it's been an up and down for a while. They're not, like the Super Bowl team they were, 10 years ago.
Oh, that's an understatement. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
That's a massive understatement, but I digress right there. Again, it's going to be a long time. The Steelers need to fix their problems, but at least they're not the Giants or the Bengals or the Browns. So there's hope for the Steelers.
Yeah. See because we're so close to Cleveland, that's the bigger discussions is Browns versus Steelers than election.
Oh my God. The easiest money every Sunday is betting against the Browns. except when they were playing the Eagles, that was horrific. It was so bad when they were playing the Eagles. It was bad. It was just terrible. Oh man. That was a rough game. The Giants and the Eagles was a rough game too, but that's a different discussion. How do you take a shitty team and allow them to score 3 points? I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, I thought the Eagles were supposed to be good.
They felt bad.
Maybe it was a sympathy 3 points.
Somebody had the
much like how Snowfall is going to need that in issue 9. Oh my God! Just I could keep going with these jokes, but I'm going to stop before you never come on this show again. Because I definitely would like you to return, so I'm going to stop with making Nightwolf jokes because it is nighttime and I'm not allowed to make these jokes anymore until the daytime, and then it'll be daytime wolf.
You've been talking to Tom, haven't you?
Tom was on last night.
I know.
Tom was on last night, and we had a very interesting discussion about a lot of things, including football. So, but I haven't spoken to Tom in like 6 months, so it was good. It was good, but again, obviously, you got a lot of stuff going on. Your book is related to Halloween, and I do want to give you a chance to promote your book and all that stuff and everything else you got going on because we did spend a lot of time talking about Nightwolf because that's the one that's on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. But obviously, Snowpaw's in play. I mean, you have issue 3 is being drawn. Is that correct?
Issue 4.
Oh, issue 4. I'm sorry. So then I misheard. So.
Yeah, my bad. We're on issue 4 now.
So that's what February, March is the time?
Yeah. That's I'm aiming for a February launch. Again, that's all going to depend on when Mog and Bruna finish up with the art, and then when Dave Lentz can do the lettering.
It's probably also dependent on what even it looks like in January as well, and all that stuff too, because we don't know what it's going to look like necessarily in the whole sphere in the new year.
I mean, I'm going to probably still do it anyway.
Oh, there you go. I was just giving you an out.
I got it here. No matter what's going to happen, I have to finish this 4-issue story arc, at least for Snowpaw, and I have to finish a 12-issue story arc of Nightwolf. If everything goes to shit after that, then at least I finished something.
Are you on a schedule technically to do all this, or is it just that because some people are on a schedule saying I need to get out 6 books a year or 5 books a year?
I'm trying to do 1 a quarter.
Okay.
So that,
I asked the question because some people say, look, I want to be on a schedule where I want to get 6 books out. So I have to do a book in February to do a book in April to do a book in June to do a book here. Or some people say, look, I'm just trying to get 4 books out, one a quarter, and I don't want to die.
yeah,
Because both those things are relevant and sound strategies. That's
yeah,
why I ask.
yeah. I mean, I'm the quarterly release.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, I get it. But obviously, I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. So obviously, you got Snowpaw in play. You got Wolf Pups in play to some degree.
Mhm.
Night Wolf is obviously the book we were speaking about heavily,
Yep.
along with some other stuff. And then I don't think you're doing anything else at the moment in this sector because I think this is the only stuff you're focusing on for the
Yeah,
next.
yeah. I have other titles that I want to eventually put out. But you gotta so much time.
Pick and choose your battles.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I right now, like I said, we got Snowpaw, we got Nightwolf, Wolfpack Pups, the plushies.
That's
When
what
issue 4 is done with Snowpaw, we'll have a trade release for that volume. And yeah, like I said, we're gonna keep rolling out with Nightwolf. I plan to do more Snowpaw. But again, we're gonna see the state of the world before I really start getting back into that.
Well, I have some good news and bad news for you.
Sure.
Snowpaw might have to be global warming paw. Hey, man. I'm so sorry. I mean, in New York on Monday, it was 70 degrees in October.
Yeah, it was 80 degrees here yesterday.
And so I'm in an elevator. I'm like, I'll take global warming. Florida could have the hurricane. We'll take the temperature. It's fine. But yeah, so obviously though, all jokes aside, hopefully global warming won't happen and won't affect Snowpaw too much. Oh, this is just terrible. It's just so terrible. But all jokes aside, obviously that's coming out in February.
Mhm.
Nightwolf is out there right now
Mhm.
on Kickstarter. Link is in the description above, below, to the side, depending on how you're viewing it. If you click it, you can go through it. You can see all the rewards, all that stuff. Digital is what, $5?
Yep.
And then I think you have a catch-up digital, which isn't that expensive.
Yeah, the catch-up digital I believe is like 35, and then the get everything, which is Snowpaw and Nightwolf, is like 44 for the digital. And then we have catch-up tiers at different price levels for variants. The standard is at $75. You can get all 9 issues of the standard retail, and kind of it goes from there.
Cool. That's good. And then people can just pick up whatever they want. And then you probably also do add-ons and
Oh
things
yeah.
like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and then I have I do backer kit for fulfillment, so they can, if they aren't able to find something that they want particularly, like there's a particular cover that they want, they could always add it later on.
And also sometimes people just don't have the money when they're back in campaign. Because I've been in that situation where I've added stuff on the backer kit
Mhm.
like 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later. And that always is helpful too. But again, people can figure it out. And if you can't, there's this little thing called YouTube that probably can help you out a lot. So YouTube is my best friend. Whenever I have a problem, YouTube solves it. Just you type in your prompt to YouTube and it helps you. It's amazing. But I digress. But obviously, I'm going to keep saying it. You have to support whenever somebody's creating something, whether it's big or small, companies, people. If you like something and you enjoy it, you need to go out and support it. That means either backing it, buying a component of it, just giving money to it, or better yet, sharing it out, tweeting it out, Xing it out. I don't know if it's still called tweeting. Instagramming it out, putting it on the gram. Yeah, we're bringing that back. Everybody. Posting it on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, talking about it, sharing it, letting somebody know goes a long way. And then as far as social media goes for everybody as well, social media goes a long way. It goes a long way following people. And it's really, really important to do that. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And then I'm going to promote myself because it is my show. Obviously, I am Pop Anime Comics on there's a Twitter / the X, because that's what it's called now. I am Pop Anime Comics on Instagram or the Gram. I like this, the Gram. I am Pop Anime Comics on Facebook. I am also Pop Anime Comics on YouTube, Pop Anime Comics on TikTok. I run a little eBay store called Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, and I sell a lot of cool stuff in my store, like this, but apparently nobody can see it. Nobody can see it. I sell a lot of that. I also sell things like this, which I showed earlier, which is a base relic card. And this is also another version of that. And they're super limited. I have one of these left. I have some Dodger stuff right now, base relics. I got some Yankee stuff that they're playing on Friday. I also carry cards like this in my store, and I carry stuff like this in my store, which are 1-of-1s. These are 10 of 10s. These are really, really expensive cards. And I also carry comics like this in my store. I have all 15 of those. All 15. So if you want that book, I got you. And you got to buy it from me. And I'm asking like 60, 65, around that price range. So it's not terrible. And if you are a My Hero Academia fan and you like well-endowed women who are muscular, then you should go read Wonder Woman. But all jokes aside, that's the type of stuff I carry. And I'm going to just continue to self-promote myself and chill and hold the dollar. This is my Cash App, everybody, because independent media is getting expensive. StreamYard's expensive, and I appreciate when people support independent media. So if you would like to support what I do here, what I do on an interview basis, and all that stuff, you could cash me $1 because, again, I am not monetized on YouTube, and that's everything how I feel. And no, I do not have the keys to the city like P. Diddy does. So I want to make that crystal clear. So hey, Eric Adams gave it to him. I mean, I'm just saying that, that key is useless. That key is useless because
that's useless as Gotham's.
Listen, we're having a key to the city if it can't open up a jail cell. I will be performing stand-up on Saturday. I just want to let everybody know that no, I am not performing stand-up. But yes, that's everything that I got going on. And just remember that you go support independent comics and media and all that stuff. And follow me on social media. It makes me feel special. It's the most important thing you can do beyond money, because I do like money, and I would like to afford a Frappuccino tomorrow. So, cash at me, everybody, because I would like my coffee. But more importantly, follow me on YouTube. Please subscribe on YouTube. It actually means something, and it's very, very helpful. And it tells me that you want to watch my show and you want to see more interviews, and it's free. So there you go. But that's enough about what I got, and I'm going to give you the final word.
So I'm Rob Multari. Please follow me at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Lone Wolf Comics. You can also find me at Rob Multari. The Kickstarter is at nightwolf.lonewolfcomics.com. That'll take you to that very long, arduous Kickstarter link. And you could also find more about Lone Wolf Comics at lonewolfcomics.com.
And I think that's a wrap, everybody.